are fully into fall, and so today we are going to discuss styling for the season. The first thing I think about when it comes to changing up or styling things seasonally is color. And I've got some great mood boards just to show you when I first started thinking about decorating for fall, what routes I was thinking of going down. Now you can see there's a sort of burgundy, reddish orange color. There are some really gorgeous yellows. And then we've got this sort of musty, dusty pink that I also really love. When it came down to it, I thought, as you can see, let me go for the traditional burgundy, orange, and restyle everything with that in mind. The second thing that always comes to mind when I think about styling for the season is florals. And I think it's such an easy way to decorate, and that's why it's the first thing really that comes to mind after the color. So I have literally changed the whole of the house from a floral perspective. I went really leafy. I went for flowers I hadn't used before. I mixed calla lilies with, lots of different types of flowers. And I, usually try and do one type of flower per vase, whereas I think, for fall, I wanted it to feel more rustic, more rough. And so I've really gone for a mix of different colors. Now, I am no expert when it comes to florals, but what I did do was decide on my color palette, go down to the flower market and make sure that I sort of put together different bunches and, decided, look, do these look right? Could they work together? I kept asking myself, is this going down that same sort of burgundy, burnt orange look? And in the end, it absolutely did. You'll see that all throughout my house, there are different floral arrangements. I've put them in the living room, in the kitchen, in the dining area, and it really has changed the whole energy of the space. The next thing that I think is really important when it comes to changing up the look of your home, and of course something that you can very easily do, is play around with the cushions, the throws, and the soft furnishings. That's always a go-to when you're changing or restyling an area. But I think, when it comes to fall, if you are going to go down a, burgundy, burnt orange route, which is the route that I went down, then, depending on what your existing decorative look is, it might be an extreme change. And it definitely was for me. I think this is probably the brightest orange throw I've ever seen. I was very nervous about putting it down, but I think, if you are going to change things seasonally and if you are going to make a real effort, then, yes, you can pick up one or two throws. And, there are so many different ways to do this. There are the more expensive brands, the less expensive brands. And although, I don't think it's sustainable to continuously buy for every season, autumn does keep coming around. So if you are going to store one or two throws and you want to, go down that color avenue, then you can keep that throw if it's a soft throw and a lovely throw that you can keep using for years to come. Aside from the obvious, which is the cushions and the throws, which you can see I have displayed all over my living room, there's another really lovely way to add in a softer touch. And I love doing this in autumn. One way in which I've done that in my kitchen, for example, which is of course generally a harder area, is just by taking some linen. It could be, a large set napkin or literally just a piece of fabric. And I've thrown one across a wooden cheese board and just styled that area so that it looks, much more rustic, just warm, I think. And I think that's a lovely look in a kitchen because kitchens can be quite sterile no matter how warm you've designed your kitchen. So adding in a soft touch like that, I think works beautifully. The other thing I have done is add in some small hand towels in a slightly different color. So usually I would go for a white, and this year in autumn I've bought, 3 or 4 towels, hand towels that are in a dark taupe, and I think they look gorgeous by the kitchen sink. A big part of autumn to me is that symbolic feeling of warmth. And I really love to add in warmth and inject that wherever I can into my home, especially in autumn. And one of the ways in which I do this is by adding in just natural logs, which frankly you can buy anywhere. I also love to do it by adding in beautiful candles and incense, especially if they have a really sort of autumn smell. So pomegranate would be one of those. And another way in which I think you can really inject much more warmth is through displaying and just sort of dispersing fruits around the home. I love to be able to use seasonal fruits. So for example, figs are a really big thing for me in autumn, and I love figs personally, but just having them, that color, that sort of, beautiful purplish, deep purple color. And then I also love to have some tomatoes laying around. I just love all of those reds and purples, and I think mixed in with that burnt orange theme that I have going on is fantastic. If you've got some pomegranates, even better. But I just love, frankly, having fruit displayed in and around the house, and of course in the kitchen, because it makes much more sense. But rather than just have it in one central bowl, to have it sort of dispersed around different areas. So fresh fruit definitely for me adds warmth and this feeling of sort of homeliness. Okay, so my final star piece, and I promise you I do not buy this every autumn, but I have been waiting and longing for these for a long time. I have gone and purchased some Le Creuset, I'm sorry, I always get this wrong, Le Creuset casserole dishes that you can actually cook with, and they are fabulous. I bought them in a beautiful burgundy with a brass handle on the top, and they are just divine. And if there was any moment to buy a beautiful burgundy colored casserole dish, it would be in autumn. And they are absolutely stunning. They are very, very heavy, so it's something to definitely be aware of. And I didn't realize how heavy they honestly were, but they are absolutely stunning. I am thrilled with them. As a sort of final point, I think I would say that, styling for fall is a lot of fun. And I think, it's quite tricky when you make it feel overwhelming and you want to do everything perfectly. And of course, we're spending money, so you want to make sure that you do get it right. But I think, the fact that autumn can be a little bit rustic and it can be a little bit wild just means you can really play with the way that you style. So for example, if you don't know exactly which florals you're going to buy, just play around. It doesn't matter, it shouldn't be perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect. Putting lots of beautiful flowers that you love together probably ends up going down the right direction. But, if you do want kind of, direction in terms of colorways, then I would possibly just put more similar colors together. So I've put some reds, oranges, and mustards and yellows, and I think it's made everything work really, really well. The other thing I would say is a top tip, and I've just mentioned this just a moment ago, but, do have in autumn some closed fruits, but autumnal, seasonal fruits in and around the house. You can have them throughout the living room, in the kitchen, on the dining table. It just makes everything feel so much warmer. It doesn't matter that you actually haven't used the tea towel that you're displaying above your timber chopping board, or, a piece of wood that you've got somewhere, adding in some logs. All of those things just make everything feel a bit more natural and unique and not so neat and tidy. And I think ultimately that's what autumn is about. It's a little bit sort of, I wouldn't say messy, but a little bit fun, a little bit more relaxed, and a little bit more wild. Okay, so you are now in the middle of my wild fall living room, or at least part of it. And you can see what I mean when I talk about going a little bit wild and crazy. This is such a bold move for me, not just in terms of the florals, but also in terms of the throws and the bright, bold colors. But I have to say, I am obsessed. And if there was ever a time where I was going to move into another color area, then this would be it. It looks fabulous. It feels, like I said, a little bit rough, a little bit funky, but very, very warm and perfection. Love it here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, then please do, and I cannot wait to see you for the next video.